Viktor Gyokeres, and the moment Arsenal's depth became undeniable. The 60-minute mark arrives at the Emirates Stadium. Arsenal are leading Sunderland 1-0, but the game lacks conviction. Gabriel Jesus has struggled to impose himself. The crowd grows restless. Mikel Arteta reaches for his bench, and the decision he makes in that moment will define not just this match, but the entire narrative surrounding Arsenal's title challenge. Viktor Gyokeres strips off his training top and prepares to enter. The Swedish striker had been dropped from the starting lineup just hours earlier. His reaction to that news would reveal everything about his mentality and Arsenal's culture. This substitution carries weight far beyond a simple tactical adjustment. This is about squad management at the highest level. This is about a manager making a bold call and a player responding with the exact mentality required to win championships. What unfolds over the next 30 minutes will silence doubts about Arsenal's strength in depth. It will validate Arteta's rotation policy. It will prove that this squad possesses something previous Arsenal teams lacked: the ability to impact games from the bench, the maturity to accept rotation, the hunger to prove a point when given limited minutes. Gyokeres scores twice. The game finishes 3-0. Arsenal move 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League. But the story runs deeper than just 2 goals from a substitute. This performance crystallises why Arsenal are genuine contenders across all 4 competitions this season. Let me explain what was truly at stake here and why this match tells us everything about where Arsenal are as a football club right now. The pressure on Arsenal at this stage of the season cannot be overstated. 9 points clear sounds comfortable, but history teaches us that leads evaporate when concentration drops, when key players miss matches, when squad depth gets exposed. Arsenal have experienced these collapses before. The ghosts of previous title challenges haunt this club. Every game carries the weight of expectation. Every dropped point invites questions about bottling, about mental fragility, about whether this team truly possesses championship DNA. Sunderland at home should be straightforward, but nothing feels straightforward when you carry the burden of being 9 points clear, when you are missing Bukayo, Saka and Ødegaard through injury, when the entire football world watches and waits for you to slip. This match represented a potential banana skin, a game where rotation could backfire, where squad players might prove inadequate, where the absence of star names could derail momentum. Arteta dropped Gyokeres, a striker who cost a significant fee from Sporting CP, a player who endured a difficult adaptation period but finally found form since the start of January. A striker who led the entire Premier League in goals scored in 2026. Dropping him carried risk. It sent a message about squad hierarchy. It tested Gyokeres' character. It demanded a response. If Gyokeres had sulked, the dressing room dynamic shifts. If he had produced a poor cameo off the bench, questions emerge about his mentality. If Arsenal had dropped points because the striker rotation misfired, the entire narrative changes. Title challenges unravel from moments like these. Squad harmony fractures, confidence drains, the pressure intensifies. If you want deeper analysis on stories like this, hit that subscribe button right now. We break down the tactical decisions, the squad dynamics and the psychological elements that separate title winners from nearly men. This is where football becomes fascinating, the human stories behind the results. Subscribe and let's dig into what really happened at the Emirates. Now, let me take you through exactly what transpired and why every detail matters. Arteta names his lineup. Gabriel Jesus starts. Gyokeres sits on the bench. For a striker accustomed to being the first name on the team sheet at Sporting, this represents a challenge. At his previous club, Gyokeres was untouchable. Every week, every match, he started. Now he faces genuine competition. Jesus has returned from injury. Arteta rotates. The manager makes tactical choices based on opponent rhythm and squad management. No player holds a guaranteed starting position. The moment Gyokeres discovers he will not start could have gone 2 ways: frustration and withdrawal, or immediate readiness and hunger. His reaction was instantaneous. Ready, not resignation, not disappointment, just readiness. Arteta recognises this reaction and understands its significance. He approaches Gyokeres privately and delivers a clear message. You are coming on and you can make a huge impact. Not vague encouragement, not empty platitudes. A direct statement about the role Gyokeres will play, the expectation that he will influence the result, the confidence that he possesses the quality to change the game. This conversation reveals Arteta's man management expertise. He does not leave Gyokeres in the dark. He does not create uncertainty. He provides clarity about expectations while managing the striker's mentality. When asked whether he specified exact minutes, Arteta admits he could not predict that detail. But he made one thing crystal clear. Gyokeres would play a big part and Arsenal would need him to win the game. This approach transforms a potentially negative situation into motivation. Gyokeres now has purpose. He understands his role. He knows the manager trusts him. He feels valued despite not starting. This psychological preparation proves crucial. The match begins. Jesus struggles. Arsenal dominate possession but lack cutting edge. Martin Zubimendi scores from distance to give the Gunners a 1-0 lead. The midfielder continues his remarkable adaptation to English football. 6 goals this season, a career best return. Contributions in and around the box that Arteta admits he did not expect at this level. Zubimendi's impact deserves recognition in its own right. Andrea Berta spent over £200 million on 8 summer signings. Every single one has made a positive contribution. The squad depth Arsenal now possess separates them from previous versions of this team. Zubimendi exemplifies this quality, brilliant in midfield, making Declan Rice better, controlling games, and now adding goals from deep positions. Against Sunderland, Zubimendi records 62 touches, completes 47 of 51 passes, a 92% passing accuracy, 3 interceptions, 5 ball recoveries, 1 clearance, not dribbled past once, a 7.8 out of 10 rating from SofaScore. Only Gyokeres scores higher among all players who feature. But back to the main narrative. Jesus struggles, the hour mark approaches, Arteta makes his move, Gyokeres enters, 30 minutes to make his impact, to justify the manager's faith, to prove his readiness, to demonstrate the mentality required at this level. What happens next validates everything. The entire approach, the rotation, the man management, the squad building, the mentality work. Traps. Scores, a brilliant finish. Everything about the goal speaks to a player in form, in rhythm, in confidence. He has 6 goals in all competitions since the start of 2026, more than any other Premier League player in that time frame. Only Igor Thiago at Brentford matches this tally. The goals that eluded him during his difficult adaptation period now flow freely. Then Gyokeres scores again. Gabriel Martinelli, another substitute, provides the assist. This second goal arrives in stoppage time and seals a 3-0 victory. 2 substitutes combining to kill the game. Squad depth deployed perfectly. Rotation justified completely. The broader context makes this performance even more significant. Arsenal are missing Saka and Ødegaard, 2 absolutely crucial players. Attackers who define how this team functions. Their absence could cripple lesser squads. But Arsenal bring on Gyokeres and Martinelli, and neither the quality nor the control drops. If anything, the game improves, the result becomes emphatic. Alan Shearer analyses the match on Match of the Day. His assessment captures the significance perfectly. Arsenal used their squad strength. They brought on Gyokeres, they brought on Martinelli. They have missing players like Saka and Ødegaard who are out injured, but the depth handles it. Shearer specifically highlights Gyokeres coming on to score his first goal and then another substitute playing a huge part in the second. Martinelli puts the chance on a plate. There is no coming back from there for Sunderland. 3 big points for Arsenal. The former Premier League striker then addresses Gyokeres' form directly. You can see Gyokeres there with the most goals in all competitions in 2026. So the goals are starting to flow for him as well. This observation matters because it acknowledges the transformation. The difficult start is behind him. The adaptation complete. The goals arriving consistently. Shearer also praises Arsenal's professionalism. The performance was not spectacular, but it was very, very professional. This distinction is crucial for title winners. You do not need brilliance every week. You need the ability to win games without hitting top gear, to grind out results when key players miss matches, to trust your squad depth and have that trust rewarded. Shearer emphasises this point further. There are so many people waiting for Arsenal to slip up. When you see a performance like that, it is fine. They do not have to be brilliant every game. They just have to find ways to win games, and they have done that. No panic from their side at all. This assessment identifies what separates contenders from champions. Arsenal are not trying to win every game 5-0. They are not chasing perfection. They are accumulating points. They are managing their squad intelligently. They are creating a culture where rotation breeds hunger rather than resentment. Consider the psychology at work here. Gyokeres accepts being dropped, responds with readiness, receives clear communication about his role, enters with purpose, scores twice, validates the manager's approach, strengthens his own position, demonstrates the mentality Arteta demands. This creates a positive cycle. Other squad players observe this example. They see that responding correctly to rotation leads to opportunities, that making an impact off the bench earns trust, that the meritocracy functions, that nobody's position is guaranteed, but everyone has a genuine chance to contribute. The article mentions that Gyokeres will be the first to admit he had a tough start to life at Arsenal. The adaptation period challenged him, the Premier League's demands tested him, but since the turn of the year, he has looked completely different, transformed. The numbers confirm this transformation. No player in the entire division has scored more goals than Gyokeres since the start of 2026. This represents a remarkable turnaround from struggling to adapt to leading the league in form, from uncertain starter to reliable impact player to genuine goal threat. The article suggests that if Gyokeres maintains this rate, he could finish the season with over 20 goals in all competitions, currently on 13 goals total this season. The projection feels realistic given his current form. A fully fit and firing Gyokeres in the business end of the season could make a serious difference in Arsenal's hunt for all 4 trophies. This prospect should concern every Arsenal rival, a striker finding his rhythm at exactly the right time. A player who struggled initially but now delivers consistently, a weapon Arteta can deploy from the start or from the bench depending on tactical requirements. The versatility this provides cannot be overstated. Arteta can start Jesus and bring on Gyokeres for a different dynamic. He can start Gyokeres and have Jesus as a creative option off the bench. He can rotate both to manage fitness across a gruelling schedule. He possesses genuine options in a crucial position. But the Gyokeres story represents just one element of Arsenal's transformation. Martin Zubimendi's contribution demands equal recognition. The Spanish midfielder has been a revelation since joining Arsenal. Most players need months or even a full year to adapt after arriving from a foreign country. Zubimendi hit the ground running immediately, outstanding in the middle of the park, making the players around him better, especially Rice, and now adding goals that even Arteta did not anticipate. The manager admits that Zubimendi is contributing to the team in a way they probably did not expect that much, but he really has an intuition and quality to deliver those moments in and around the box. 6 goals this season for a defensive midfielder represents a career best return by some distance. If he maintains this rate, Zubimendi could reach double figures. That output from midfield adds a dimension Arsenal previously lacked. Goals from deep positions, late runs into the box, an additional threat beyond the recognised attackers. The detail about Zubimendi's performance against Sunderland illustrates his all-round contribution. 62 touches, 47 of 51 passes completed, 92% accuracy, 3 interceptions, 5 ball recoveries, 1 clearance, not dribbled past once, then add a goal on top of that defensive and technical excellence. This is why Arsenal looks so different this season. It is not just about having good players. It is about having players who fit specific roles perfectly, who enhance those around them, who contribute in multiple phases, who can defend, progress the ball and now score goals. The article mentions Andrea Berta spending over £200 million on 8 summer signings. That investment has transformed Arsenal's squad. Every single signing has made a positive contribution. This success rate is remarkable. Many clubs spend heavily and see multiple signings fail to adapt or perform. Arsenal have a 100% hit rate from their summer business. This speaks to recruitment excellence, proper scouting, clear profiles of what each position requires, cultural fit assessed correctly, players arriving who suit Arteta's demands, both tactically and mentally. The depth Arsenal now possess gets described as the reason why many feel they are favourites to win the Premier League and Champions League. This expectation stems directly from the squad-building work, from having players like Gyokeres and Martinelli who can enter matches and change outcomes, from having Zubimendi controlling midfield and adding goals, from having options in every position. The conversation between Arteta and Gyokeres before the match takes on additional significance when you understand the broader context. Arteta is managing a squad full of expensive signings, players who expect to start, who have options elsewhere if they feel undervalued, who could create dressing room problems if handled incorrectly. But Arteta communicates clearly, sets expectations, provides certainty about roles even when rotating, makes players feel valued regardless of whether they start. This approach prevents the squad fractures that derail many title challenges. When Gyokeres sees the lineup and his immediate reaction is ready, that tells you the culture is right. The mentality is right. The player understands the bigger picture. He trusts the process. He believes his chance will come. And when it arrives, he delivers. Arteta telling Gyokeres that he will make a huge impact is not just encouragement. It is a statement of fact based on the striker's current form and the tactical situation. Arteta knows Sunderland will tire. He knows fresh legs up front will create problems. He knows Gyokeres possesses the quality to exploit those situations. The communication is honest and accurate. The fact that Arteta does not specify exact minutes shows respect for the game's unpredictability. He cannot guarantee 30 minutes versus 15 minutes, but he can guarantee that Gyokeres will play a big part, that Arsenal will need him to win the game. This honesty builds trust. Contrast this with managers who promise minutes they cannot deliver or who provide vague assurances that mean nothing. Arteta gives Gyokeres concrete information. Your role is to impact the game. We need you to help us win. Be ready. Gyokeres responds perfectly. He warms up with purpose. He enters the match focused. He scores twice. He fulfills exactly the role Arteta outlined. This symbiotic relationship between manager and player defines successful teams. Clear communication, mutual respect, honest assessment, then delivery on both sides. The article highlights that Gyokeres was the first name on the team sheet every week during his time at Sporting. That was the case in his first few months at Arsenal as well. But now the situation has evolved. Competition exists, rotation happens, no position is guaranteed. For a striker accustomed to guaranteed starts, this adjustment requires maturity. Gyokeres could have demanded assurances, could have complained about rotation, could have let frustration affect his performances. Instead, he has adapted his mentality. He understands the demands of competing across 4 competitions. He accepts that rotation serves the collective goal. This maturity separates good players from great ones. The ability to put ego aside, to accept decisions you might not like, to respond professionally, to stay ready mentally and physically regardless of starting status. Arteta has cultivated this environment, but players still need to buy into it. Gyokeres has bought in completely. His response to being dropped proves this beyond any doubt. The comparison the article makes between Hugo Ekitike at Liverpool and Gyokeres is interesting. It asks if Ekitike is the signing of the season. How would you describe Gyokeres? The implication being that both summer signings have made significant impacts for title-challenging teams. This context matters because it shows Arsenal are not alone in strengthening. Liverpool invested in Ekitike. Other clubs made moves. The competition for trophies involves multiple well-resourced teams with quality squads. Arsenal's ability to compete across all fronts depends entirely on having comparable depth and quality. The 9-point lead at the top of the Premier League provides a buffer, but maintaining that advantage requires consistent performance. It requires winning matches like this Sunderland game where key players are missing and the performance is workmanlike rather than brilliant. It requires squad players stepping up when called upon. Gyokeres has now proven he can deliver in exactly these situations off the bench after being dropped against supposedly inferior opposition where complacency could creep in. He has shown the mentality and quality required. Looking ahead, Arsenal face enormous challenges. Competing in the Premier League, FA Cup, League Cup and Champions League simultaneously demands incredible squad management. Injuries will happen, fatigue will accumulate, rotation becomes mandatory rather than optional. Arteta now knows he can trust Gyokeres in these rotated lineups. He knows the striker will not sulk, will not down tools, will not require constant reassurance. He will simply stay ready and deliver when called upon. This reliability is priceless during a title run. Managers lose sleep over whether rotated players will perform, whether squad harmony will survive rotation, whether dropping a player will create problems. Arteta can sleep easier knowing Gyokeres handles it perfectly. And if Gyokeres handles it perfectly, other squad players notice. The culture strengthens, the mentality spreads. The article notes that no player in the entire division has managed to score more goals than Gyokeres since the start of 2026. This statistic deserves emphasis because it shows sustained form rather than a purple patch. January and February have seen Gyokeres consistently find the net. His confidence has grown with each goal. His movement has sharpened. His finishing has become clinical. A striker in this kind of form becomes increasingly valuable as the season progresses. Defenders know about him now, but they still cannot stop him. The goals keep coming, the impact continues. The positive sign for Arsenal is that this form has arrived at the perfect time. The business end of the season, when games become tighter, when margins narrow, when a clinical finisher can separate winners from losers. If Gyokeres maintains this trajectory and finishes with over 20 goals in all competitions, that return from a striker who started slowly would represent excellent business. It would validate Arsenal's patience during his adaptation period. It would prove that giving players time to settle pays dividends. The contrast between Gyokeres struggling initially and now leading the league in 2026 goals tells a story about character, about persistence, about refusing to be defined by a difficult start. This resilience suggests Gyokeres possesses the mentality to handle pressure situations, to perform in crucial matches, to deliver when stakes are highest. Arsenal's season could ultimately be defined by moments like this. Squad players responding to rotation, substitutes changing games, depth proving its value. These are the characteristics of championship-winning teams. Shearer's observation about people waiting for Arsenal to slip up captures the external pressure. Every pundit, every rival fan, every neutral observer watching for signs of weakness, for evidence that Arsenal will bottle it again. That history will repeat. But performances like this, Sunderland victory, provide counter-evidence. Arsenal are not panicking. They are rotating intelligently. They are winning without brilliance. They are managing their squad like champions. The 9-point lead means nothing if it evaporates. But every professional victory like this one adds another brick to the psychological wall Arsenal are building. Confidence that they can win different types of matches. That squad depth delivers when needed. That rotation works. Gyokeres scoring twice off the bench, Zubimendi controlling midfield and adding a goal. Martinelli impacting the game as a substitute. These are the details that accumulate into championship seasons. Arteta's ability to manage these personalities and egos deserves recognition. He has created an environment where expensive signings accept rotation, where star players respond to being dropped with professionalism, where squad harmony remains intact despite competition for places. This cultural achievement might prove more important than any tactical innovation, because talent alone does not win titles. Squads full of talented individuals who cannot coexist as a collective fail constantly. Arsenal have solved this problem. They have built a genuine squad where everyone contributes, where rotation breeds hunger rather than resentment, where the collective goal supersedes individual ambitions. The evidence sits right there in Gyokeres' reaction to being dropped. Immediate readiness, then 2 goals when given his chance. That single sequence encapsulates everything Arsenal have become this season. Professional, mature, deep, hungry. And that is why they sit 9 points clear. That is why they are favourites across multiple competitions, not just because they have good players, but because they have built something stronger, a culture, a mentality, a machine that keeps producing results regardless of which individuals feature.